Hi people, so it is Black History Month. Power to the peoples, power to the peoples. But the iffy thing about Black History Month is that every year we celebrate Black History Month not in the best of spirits, because if you didn't know, you know, don't live in America or whatever, or if you just are not aware for whatever reason, 3 people are killed by police every single day, and disproportionately Black people are targeted. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that more Black people are killed than any other race, because white people are actually killed more, but that's only because there's more white people. But that's getting off track, okay? Disproportionately, Black people are targeted by the police. They are policed more, profiled more. And so these situations that arise, you know, Black Lives Matter, all these movements that have arisen, honestly, since the dawn of America, honestly, because this has been an issue since the dawn of America, even though for whatever reason, I always hear people being like, Black Lives Matter was the start of this. No, it wasn't. This has been a thing since the Civil Rights Movement, since the Reconstruction era. We have been fighting police brutality and state-sanctioned violence since its inception of this country, okay? This is nothing new. And this Black History Month, we are mourning the loss of another innocent, young, beautiful Black man who was just minding his own business and happened to be in the firing range of multiple police officers. Tyre Nichols is who I am talking about. Now, there's actually a few other instances that are recent. There was another person in Atlanta, but today we'll just be focusing on Tyre Nichols' story and also the bigger narrative that police reform and police brutality has. I'll just give you a rundown of what happened. I really don't watch the video, okay? Just don't, okay? It's been circling around everywhere. News coverage, news places have just rammed that stuff into our heads, and especially for Black, you're already freaking traumatized. Just don't watch it. If you haven't watched it, don't watch it. I didn't watch it. I mean, I watched bits and pieces, but I didn't watch the part where he gets killed, because I just don't want to. I don't even want to see that. Okay. Anyways, I'll just give you a rundown of what happened. Okay, so Tyre Nichols was driving in his car. Supposedly, what the police say they pulled him over for was that he was recklessly driving. Now, the police chief, in a later statement, said that there's actually no evidence that that was happening, but that's what the police that pulled him over said that they were doing, okay? Immediately when they pull him over, they don't even say why they're pulling him over. They don't even de-escalate. They don't talk to him like he's a regular person. They pull him out the car and tase him and drag him to the ground. And so of course Tyre's like scared, because he's like, I'm gonna die, okay? So he runs away towards his mom's house, because his mom's house is like a few yards, or like 100 or so yards away, okay? So his mom's house is like super close. He's like, I'm just gonna run there. So he does that, or he tries to anyways. The police chase him down, okay? And then they proceed, whenever they do catch him, to beat him. Now, he doesn't actually die. It's very violent, disgusting beating, and even afterwards they're like, that was so exhilarating. I love that. You know, they say it's rewarding to them. By what you can tell by the way that they were describing it, it was a rewarding experience for them. So, I'm sorry, I hate. I was very hesitant on whether I actually wanted to do this video or not, which I'll get into a little bit later. But anyways, he doesn't actually die whenever they beat him up. He dies later in the hospital, 3 days later, from internal injuries from the police beating him up. Okay, He didn't die at the scene, is what I'm trying to say. So this isn't a unique situation. Now, Tyre Nichols' case was really, it was advertised as this like super unique situation with the police because it's always, you know, like a white police officer beating up and or shooting and killing a black person, you know, and that didn't happen this time. So everyone was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Now you guys, especially on Fox News, they were like, now you guys can't argue that this is a race issue. Yes, it is. It's still a race issue because it doesn't matter the color of the police officer. It matters the color of the victim. Like I said, black people are disproportionately targeted by the police. Will profile and survey. I don't know what the word is in English. Okay, I'm struggling. Survey. They will go through. There's a word for it, but they will go through their neighborhoods a lot more often. They will profile them a lot more often. This is a statistical, empirical thing, okay? You can't argue this. This is just, there's facts for this, okay? Even though people definitely, if my yay video was any indication, the people will definitely try and find some way, pull something out of their butt to say that this is not real and you're just making stuff up. No, I'm not. And I will probably put something on the screen to show that I'm not. But even though all the 5 police officers that were charged, and I believe now there have been a few more that were actually involved at the scene that weren't charged because people were like, what about those other police officers who initially pulled him out of the car? Why aren't they charged? Because there was actually like 10 or so police officers there, and yet only 5 were initially charged, but others have been charged. So that's good. That's really good. Okay, and that's probably due to the progressive DA in Memphis, which is great. Vote. It works sometimes. Sometimes it works. Okay, but this isn't a unique thing. Whenever you are a police officer, you aren't black anymore. Just by virtue of what the police are meant to do, you aren't black anymore. What you serve is a white supremacist institution. Okay, you're there to uphold white supremacy. You are there to uphold and protect capital. You are there to uphold and protect corporations. You are there to serve them. You are not there to serve the people. No matter how much people want to create in your mind that is what police do, that is so very obviously not what they do. Okay, this is evidence. The evidence that they kill 3 freaking people a day, and that means they've killed 1,000 people every single year since like 2001, I believe. So that is like 21,000 people that have died in the past 20 freaking years. I want to cuss so freaking badly, but I will not. I hate talking about this so much. Anyways, it's hard for me not to get emotionally about this because I'm black, obviously. And okay, I'm gonna try not to get off track. Okay, it's hard for me to not get emotional. Okay, I'm gonna try to stay on track though. But I just hate how CNN and MSNBC and like every news outlet that you're gonna watch on the situation going to talk about how this is such a unique situation and these are just bad apples. How do we solve bad apples? It's not unique at all. This isn't a unique situation, especially when 3 people are dying a day. This isn't a unique situation. Okay, so stop acting like it is just because all 5 freaking police officers are black, and just understand that the police as an institution are a violent one. Okay, and that has been apparent and obvious for decades. Okay, like probably more than a century at this point. You should have been able to pull history out of your mind and recognize that this is what they freaking do. I hate that we can't just say that. It's so freaking annoying that CNN, which is probably, or even MSNBC, is supposed to be like the most progressive news outlets, and it's so sad that is as progressive as it gets. Honestly, it's so freaking sad that is as progressive as we can get of a news outlet whenever Fox News is going ham to the wall on the right. Nevertheless, I just wish that they would cover this, like even Van Jones and Don Lemon. I just wish someone would cover this in a truthful light and stop freaking saying this is unique, these are bad apples, whenever it's not. Girl, it can't be a freaking bad apple whenever this is the freaking 2100th case, okay, or 21,000th case. Like this, you can't. Now let's get into the background of the police officers and the police chief. Now, 3 of the police officers had already been suspended or had some sort of complaints made against them in the past. 3 of the 5, the original 5. And also 3 or 2 days before Tyre Nichols, the situation with him even happened, there was another person who said that they were also beat up by these same police officers. And he complained twice. And they never even got back to him, okay? So imagine if they had actually not ignored that. And if you see that man's bruises, they are terrible, okay? So he was beat probably just as badly as Tyre, okay? And imagine if they had just not ignored him and they had actually done something about this, or if they had fired those police officers, I guess, before Tyre, then he wouldn't have died. Like, just imagine. And a lot of you people that are going to be, I already know that if this video actually does well, which don't even get me started on if a video is going to do well, because that's not what we're here to talk about. But if this video does, I already know that I'm gonna have the same sort of Nazis and white freaking supremacists and stupid freaking people in my comments, like I did in the EA video. I already know it, okay? And so let me explain to you why this affects freaking everybody, okay? You may just think I'm just saying this because it affects my people, it affects black people and brown people, okay? Maybe you may just be thinking that if you're white, okay, and you're freaking delusional and you're I'm gonna be charitable. I'm charitable. White supremacy in this country affects everybody, okay? The police, as I stated and have stated a bunch in this video, are a white supremacist violent institution, okay? But yet, like I mentioned earlier, white people are killed more than black people. So if you're white and you wanna, you know, freaking love the police and you love your people and then then pay attention to the fact that your people are getting killed by police too. Your people are getting caught in the crosshairs of a white supremacist institution too. So why don't you care? Why don't you want to help this too? It doesn't make any sense, okay? And I don't even know why I'm gonna even try and explain this stuff to people, because it's not gonna work. I'm sorry, I'm not in the mood. I'm not in the mood to be charitable today. The police chief, if we want to get into her, because, you know, everybody was like, oh, she feels bad. She's doing a great job, you know? She must be great. She's not, okay? The police chief was originally the police chief in Atlanta, and she was moved to Memphis. Well, actually, she was moved to, I believe it was North Carolina, because she tried to cover up a pedo charge or a pedo case in the Atlanta Police Department. So she's not that great, okay? She's a bit icky. And also, she started the Scorpion unit in Memphis, which these police officers were on. And tactical units are only used to be more violent, more aggressive. The police are already a violent institution. Then of course these people are going to just be given free reign. You know, if your whole point of, you know, being made, if this whole Scorpion unit is being made to be more aggressive and really tackle these issues, then of course they're just gonna feel like, okay, let's go beat some freaking people up. This gives the police officers more reign to justify doing violent things. And police already obviously don't. They already have enough reasons to do that. So let's get into the bigger story. What does this say about America? What does this say about the future of America and police reform and police brutality? Memphis had already put in place some police reform. They already had, I believe it's called a community oversight board. These liberal reforms are put in my opinion, just for PR base, because obviously it doesn't work. Okay, because obviously Tyre Nichols got beat up. Somebody got beat up before Tyre Nichols. People complained about these police officers being violent. This was, I believe, all in the range of their police reform. So obviously that isn't working. And a lot of the times I think it's because it's a PR thing. They're like, oh, people are complaining about police brutality. We've got to do something. We've got to show that we're going to do something to fix it. But it's just so that he stop freaking complaining. Okay. Obviously, these reforms weren't enforced and the issue still isn't being tackled. Even if they tried, let's just say they tried. Let's be charitable, since we're gonna try and do that today. Let's just say they tried to enforce some sort of police reform. Obviously it's not working. Whatever they did isn't solving the issue. So if we want to look at Memphis and Tyre Nichols as a learning base, a learning situation, then whatever they did, don't do it anymore, because it's not working. Kind of goes back to the white supremacy issue that we were talking about. This is something that was rooted deep within America. Of white supremacy in general is deep into the roots of every institution far and wide in America. It has seeped its way into the housing market, into, redlining, and even, the health departments and, medical departments, and every institution in America you can think of, it has seeped its way into almost probably every aspect of our lives. The way we look at other people and we find them attractive, the way that we think about people just by looking at them, judging them even though we don't know them, the words that come to our minds, it has seeped into every aspect of our being at this point. So this issue is far bigger than small little itty bitty steps or little things to make your police department look good. It's bigger than that. It has roots firmly in that. And the police system, if we just want to single the police system out and not look at the bigger picture of America, because maybe that's a little too much. The police system especially has its roots deep within white supremacy. If we just want to look at the history of it, the police has a deep roots in the Ku Klux Klan, especially back in the day, in like the resurrection, or not, I would say resurrection, in the Reconstruction era. But even now, it has its roots in white nationalism and white supremacism and the Ku Klux Klan. That's still a thing. Okay, the original form of the police, one of the earliest forms, were slave catchers. The roots of the white supremacy in the police system go far back. How do we fix it? Okay, how do we fix it? If Memphis didn't work, how do we tackle this from a bigger standpoint? How do we actually tackle it head on? Which is hard. It's a hard question to answer, and obviously, what do I know? Honestly, what do I know? I don't know how to fix it. Okay, obviously girl, don't even try to argue with me about if I know about freaking white supremacism. Girl, don't even test me. But how do we fix this? And I have, I've looked it up and consulted and how other people think that we should fix this, and also, of course, I have to agree with it in order to put in this video. So, a federal level. Honestly, in my opinion, if its roots are in white supremacy, you gotta rip the freaking roots out. If you wanna kill the snake, you cut its freaking head off. That's what I believe. So it would have to, honestly, for the police system to be fixed entirely, you would have to freaking uproot the entire thing. But that's probably not gonna happen, let's be freaking honest. So, on a federal level, now Ben Crump is the attorney, lawyer. Same thing, are they the same thing? I don't know. But he's the attorney that is working with the Nichols family in this situation to get them justice. And he, on, I believe it was CNN, I know he said it on the news somewhere, he was like, we have to do this on a federal level. And he's a professional, so I trust in him. He does really great work. He's been doing great work for decades, so I trust him. Okay, and I agree, on a federal level we need to do something about this. Now, states have been, that's the issue with America, in my opinion, is that each state has its own opinion on how it should do things. But sometimes you hoes are wrong. Let's just be honest. Some of you hoes are wrong, especially in the South, where it's honestly the biggest issue. You hoes are wrong. I'm just saying, and the government isn't any more right, but I think if we set a precedent on a federal level of how all police should be trained, and just national police reform in any form, then I think that would be a starting point at the very least. We're tackling it on a bigger area, you know. Obviously, the training, which a lot of people bring up whenever they talk about police reform, is the training definitely needs to be fixed. The training to be a police officer is very violent. It only encourages situations like this to arise, and like I said, disproportionately towards Black people. The way they train them is only to make situations like this occur more often. It's very violent and aggressive, so we need to rewrite that training, remove that violent training. Police officers are getting killed from like freaking COVID, you know. Stop worrying so much about getting killed by people, dude. Like, you stop, honey. Truthfully, in my opinion, me being the nihilist that I am, okay, I don't know that this system will ever change. I'm gonna be real honest, okay? This is the way I see it, because I think it benefits America too much to uphold white supremacy, and the police are such a good use of a way to basically put it into action on a wider level to enforce it. You basically have these like little pawns who are just enacting white supremacy all around the country, you know. Like, it's such a good way to do it, in like the worst way possible, obviously. And I think it also doesn't make any sense, because on like an international level, like, whenever people think of America, they think of racism and school shootings and mass shootings, like nothing good. So everything that America does doesn't make them look any better, but yet they love that stuff. So I just don't think that they ever will. Okay, I think if they really wanted to do something about it, they would have done it a long time ago. America has had ample opportunity to do some sort of reform to acknowledge, because the first step to fixing any problem is acknowledgement. They've had ample opportunity to acknowledge their situation and fix this white supremacy situation, even way back, like when slavery ended. They had When slavery ended, they had the best opportunity to. And imagine, every time I think about that situation, it honestly pisses me off, because I'm like, imagine if they had actually done that. Imagine if they had actually done the first step, a very basic step, but reparations, and acknowledge and actually help the people that they enslaved for freaking 400 years out. Imagine. But they didn't. Well, I guess it was 200 years back then, but yeah. But imagine if they had actually done that basic first step. But America can't even get to the freaking first step. And that was the first way, just by looking at that I came to the conclusion that America is never gonna freaking fix this stuff. But this is just a message to all my black people. Most importantly, if you made it this far, don't stress yourself out. Don't do what I'm doing right now. Don't stress yourself out too much about the police brutality and white supremacy and all of that, because I know that it can get so freaking overwhelming. I remember in 2020 when George Floyd and all of that happened, and it was all over the freaking internet. And I think when people post about it all over the internet, it's like it's a good and a bad thing, because it gets it out there, and a lot of people need to see that this is happening. Obviously people seeing it doesn't change anything, but hopefully it changes somebody's mind by someone posting about it. But it also is so freaking traumatizing. I don't even want to say just for black people that stuff is traumatizing. That has to be, if you are a person with some sort of decent morality intact, and you're not a freaking psychopath like some of these people, that has to be traumatizing. To just like, people would literally post the 9-minute clip of George Floyd dying, and I was like, why would you do that? There's so many other ways to tell people about police brutality and about white supremacism in America without posting the video of him dying. That was it. Like, honestly, I think that's why this Tyre Nichols thing stresses me out so much, is because every time I think about that, I think about that moment when it was everywhere. The protests were everywhere, and I had to literally just stop. I had to not be in contact with anybody. And it was during the lockdown, so like, I shut myself off from the world, because I was like, I cannot continue to consume. That was like that was the only thing on social media, and I just could not take it anymore. And I remember one day I like had a freaking panic attack. I don't know why I said it weird, but I had a panic attack and just like freaking cried on the couch, because I was like, this is just, it's so much. Whenever you think about the scope of which your life as a black person has just been overtaken, it just becomes so depressing, because you're like, so much has been stolen from you, you know? So much has been set up against you in every way possible. Like I said, white supremacy is in every facet of our being at this point. Is in every institution, is in everywhere it can be to control us. And whenever you think about that, it gets so freaking overwhelming. You just feel like this weight is on top of you and it's crushing you, because you're like, how can I overcome this, you know? How can I get past this if it's set up to destroy me? But I encourage, I hope that, I know that's not that's not encouraging anyone for me to say all of that, but just, if you need to take a break from social media, do it. If you need to take a breather in any way in your life, do it. It is so important that you, beautiful black kings and queens and people, royalty out there, retain your mental well-being, because you deserve it. If there's anything that you deserve to gain back if there's anything that they've stolen from you that you deserve to gain back, it is your mental fortitude. Because I think we are the most strong people out there. We have to be, to get through all of this. And it has broken so many of us. I think Black people we've passed down a bunch of trauma from all this stuff that they've done to us. But we have to be strong to get to this point, to continue to fight, to continue to believe that one day it can get better. We have to be. Hopefully that's encouraging to someone, to all my Black people. I love you. I love all of you, not just my Black people. I love everyone in my community who is charitable and is willing to learn, because that's what I want. I want people to, hopefully you can see how freaking stressed out I am. I want you to see how stressed out I am about this, how shaken up this thinking about this makes me. This isn't even the freaking scope of it. This isn't even scratching the surface of how stressed out this has made me my entire freaking life. Because I have had to be stressed about this since I was young. As a Black kid, you are not afforded the chance to be young and blissful and happy. You were just not afforded that chance. I love all of my community members who, like I said, are willing to learn. I thank all of you. And to all you scumbags that are probably going to be in my comment section saying stupid, hateful stuff, I hope you are miserable. And I hope so many bad things. I hope so many bad things. Okay, bye.